Alright, so we've taken a look at the fundamentals of object-oriented programming with PHP, and we've also looked at some advanced concepts. So now what I want to do is get into working with a database, in this case a MySQL database. So we're going to be building a class that's going to allow us to connect to and interact with a database, and we're going to use something called PDO, which is PHP Data Objects. And this gives us a really nice and secure interface to interact with the database. Alright, so if you're interested in PDO, I would suggest going through the manual at php.net. There is a lot to it, a lot of different functions and different elements and so forth. So you probably won't go through it all, but you know, we'll just, you can learn as we go along. We're not going to be doing anything too difficult. And a lot of what we're going to be doing in this chapter we're going to be using in our project as well. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is create a database, and if you have AMPS or XAMPP or any of those types of local software suites, then you should have PHP If you have your own cPanel server or something like that, you probably have it. If not, you can use any kind of database tool. Alright, so I'm going to click on databases and let's create one here. Let's just call this, we'll pretend that we have a blog, so let's just call it my blog. Alright, and we'll have a table for posts. Okay, let's just, I don't know, we'll put in 7 here. Alright, and we need to add all of our different columns here. Alright, so we need an ID. Now the ID we want to be auto increment, so we want to check this AI box over here, and we also want it to be the primary key. Alright, so we'll also have a title. That's going to be a varchar, and that'll have 255 characters. We'll also need a body. Okay, so for the body that's going to be a text field. And then let's do a create date. Alright, and the create date, we're going to choose date time. And for the default here, we're going to choose current timestamp. Alright, so when a row gets inserted, it's going to automatically put the current time. Alright, so we'll save that. And that's all we need for now. Alright, so I have an index.php file. Let me just open this up, which is completely empty. So what I want to do is I want to create a folder called classes. Alright, and then inside of there we're going to create a new file. Alright, and we're going to call this database. Actually, I like to do classes with an uppercase, so let's say database.php. And everyone has their own little conventions to creating classes and objects. Alright, so we have that. Let's open that up. Okay, and let's see. We're not going to be building a full-out application here, so we'll just do, yeah, that's good. Just the index and the database for now. Alright, so in the database class, obviously we need our PHP tags, and we're going to say class database. Okay. Now we're going to want to set up some properties. Alright, and we've gone over this quite a few times already. So the different properties, we're going to need a host, we're going to need a username for our database, password, and the database name itself. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. These are going to be private. So we'll say private host, and that's going to be localhost. Alright, and let's do user. Okay, user, oops, what did I do? I put a comma there. That should be a semicolon. User is going to be your database username. In my case, it's root. Okay, we're also going to need our password. Okay, whatever your database password is. That's mine. Oops, what am I doing? Okay. Private. The last thing we need here is the DB name. All right, which you saw I called, what did I call it? PHP dev? Oh no, my blog. All right. And actually, you know what? We need a couple more things here. So this all has to do with the connections, all right? Connection and authentication. So we'll leave that there, and then we're going to create something else here for to use as a database handler. All right, so we'll say DBH. Okay, we're not going to assign it to anything. We're also going to have a property for our errors. Okay, so that'll be error. And then we need a statement property, okay, because we're going to be executing prepared statements. So this will be stmt. All right, so that's all of our properties. Next thing we need to do is we need a constructor. All right, and if you remember from earlier sections, a constructor is a function that runs when the object is instantiated. All right, so this is going to be public function _construct. Okay, and we need to set what's called a DSN. Okay, this is basically going to be our connection string. All right, so we're going to call it DSN, and we're going to set this. We're going to have to do quite a bit of concatenation here because we're going to have text with PHP variables. So here we need to say MySQL host. All right, we'll say host equals, and then this is where we need to concatenate on this host, okay, which is this right here, localhost. All right, I'm going to make this a little wider. Okay, and then we're going to go back to string mode, and we're going to put a semicolon, and then we need DB name. Okay, that's going to equal this DB name. All right, and we'll do the username and password in a second down here. But before we do that, we need to set our options. Okay, these are PDO options, so we're going to create a variable called options, and we're going to set that to an array. All right, and I'm going to specify a couple things here. We want persistent connections, so we're going to say attr underscore persistent. Okay, and we're going to set that to true. And then we want to set our error mode attribute, so PDO attr underscore error mode. Okay, and that's going to be set to PDO error mode exception. All right, and then what we need to do is try to create a new PDO instance. Okay, so we'll say create new PDO, and I'm going to put this in a try catch. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use our database handler, so our DBH property, and we're going to say equals new PDO, and then we want to pass in the DSN that we created. We also want the user, so this user. Okay, we also want the password, and then the options. All right, and then for our catch, we're going to put in a PDO exception, and then we're going to say this error get message. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. Now nothing's going to happen yet. We need to include the database file in our index. All right, so let's say require classes slash database dot PHP. Actually, that should be in uppercase. All right, and then let's say database equals new database. What's this? Unexpected colon database line 17. 17. Oh, this needs to be a double colon. Okay. So this is good that it's not giving us any errors. So what I want to do real quick is just change the password here. I'm just going to add a character, and then we'll try that out. And now you can see we're getting a message that says access denied for root. All right. So everything looks to be okay. Let's put that back. Okay, so basically no news is good news. So now that we're connected, what I'm going to do is end the video here, and then in the next section, in the next lecture, we're going to build our query function as well as the bind function or bind method that's going to allow us to bind values and fetch data as well as insert data into the database.